always give my phone.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
It is now time for the Royal Rumble!
Friday here on the King's Court. If you don't like that, what's going on, everybody? I'm ready to be on the air, unlike last night when Napes put me on the air. Well, how's it going? What are we doing? You made it. It's Friday. The sound drop bank is loaded. I mean, loaded to the brim. We probably have 50 new sound drops today. So looking forward to dropping some of those on you. We're going to talk Kings. We're going to talk about the scenario that can play out tonight that will give the chance to the Kings to keep their 12th overall pick. And it also hinges on, yes, a coin flip. A coin flip. Interesting. Now, they don't actually flip the coin. That's what I was trying to get clarification on. Are you flipping the coin? Or is it computer generated? It's allegedly, apparently, computer generated. So we'll talk about that. Title of the show. It's not if, it's when Doug Christie, or interim, is removed from Doug Christie. Everything I'm hearing, Doug Christie is going to be your next coach. I will be shocked if Doug Christie is not the head coach of the Kings going forward next year, which means we are in the exact same spin cycle. But we're 48 hours out from the loss. We'll wait to see if I am wrong. I hope I'm wrong. How are you guys feeling? Call the show. Today is for you. WrestleMania weekend as well. There will be a healthy WrestleMania preview and segment later in the show. I know some of you wait for that, and some of you wait to leave when that starts. So all good. Hope you're having a good one. Can't wait to get into it with you today. Thanks for the support yesterday. And let's make it a fun one. Court in session here on If You Don't Like That.
Late nights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you don't like that, turn away now. Kings in our blood.
Welcome back in. Oh, sure. Give me my intro. Yes.
To the man who is the epitome of efficiency and elegance.
Yeah, that works. Thank you. Thanks, Ludwig, for the intro. What's up, Ryan in Sacktown with you? Divided fan base. And it's just so smart by Vivek. I don't know. Sometimes people that make the worst decisions back themselves into very logical decisions that work. It's like they hit them in the head, like you're running through the forest and you hit a tree. But you keep Doug Christie, that's going to lock in half of this fan base. I'm telling you, to still support this team, not question what's going on, because it's Doug Christie. Now, nothing official is out. Grant and I are on the same page about this. It's not if, it is when, especially because Scott Perry was hired as the GM. And Grant brought up Brian Windhorst ripping the Kings on national TV yesterday. I went back, I found it. Here's what Brian had to say, and he's completely right. Here's Brian Windhorst yesterday on NBA Today.
All this change say to you, Brian, about the state of the franchise?
Because it's not a good organization. I mean, I wish Scott Perry the best. He's our former colleague, very strong executive. Domantas Sabonis gave his exit interview today. Yes. And they said, what do you need to do in the offseason? He said, we need to get a point guard. They just had a franchise point guard.
That Scott Perry was there in the lead up to drafting.
That they let the relationship go south on. I'm sure everybody's got their story, but the relationship went south. They had the executive of the year. The relationship went south. He knew he was getting fired because they already had Scott Perry hired. He knew for weeks he was getting fired. His assistant, Wes Wilcox, left weeks ago to take another job when he was a big part of their rebuild. How many coaches did they go through in Sacramento over the last 17 years? They finally found a coach who put them on the right path in Mike Brown. They liked him so much, they gave him a contract extension last summer, and they fired him 2 months into the season. This is the definition of why they have been a bagged organization for decades. And maybe this new alignment will work. Maybe Doug Christie will work. Maybe they will get another point guard. Just look what they did. Like, I like Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan as people. I like them as players. They can be successful. They were very clearly a poor pairing in Chicago. It did not work. Not for 5 minutes over the course of years. Wow. The Bulls moved on from both. The Kings brought them in. They had an alignment that worked, and they imported a pairing that didn't work and is very expensive. They had it in front office that was working. They disenfranchised them and drove them out of town. What are we doing here? Like, okay, maybe it will work going forward, but why would you have faith in it? Why would you have faith in the decision-making from the top? This is not an opinion. This is a reaction to the results that we can actually see.
Damn. Like, if I had the Ron Simmons drop, which I don't have, that would be a straight damn. He eviscerated the Kings. Like, the way you handle the Mike Brown firing, and then you do this, like, you have lost so much respect. You just have. And it's not like the Kings had a ton of national respect built up in their savings account. They didn't. They never have. Yeah, they were fun to watch back in the day. But still, it's Sacktown, Sacramento. Oh, they get lucky, blah, 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 blah. But this owner, I think that is the scariest part. It's not that you have an owner that's asleep behind the wheel. You have an inebriated owner that knows what they're doing, that doesn't care. Isn't that the worst kind? Anyways, I want to get to a couple of the comments. That's really interesting, Horse. I did not listen to Romy today. Sam's all over it. Sam is the one that released the article right before De'Aaron Fox came back to town that really kind of chronicled the dysfunction and the possibility of Angeli having decision-making power. And Jeremy Lamb, a lot of you have hung on to that. But all right, let's get to a couple of things right off the bat. Go Stockton! If you want to go celebrate the Stockton Kings championship, go do it tomorrow. It's going to be from 1 to 3 p.m. It's at Adventist Health Arena. It is completely free. Also, parking is free in the garage. They're not doing a parade, but they're doing a celebration. So go celebrate if you are so inclined. Support them and the bright spot they brought to this season. I know Doge is rolling his eyes because Doge doesn't want to hear about the Stockton Kings. I found this interesting. Cheapest tickets for game 1 of the NBA playoffs on TickPick. Say that 10 times fast without screwing up. Pistons at Knicks, $361, not surprising. T-Wolves, Lakers, of course, Lakers. But look at the bottom one. How about the Oklahoma City tickets? Only $50? I always kind of thought OKC, their fan base, was second to Sacramento in terms of composition, the way that they cheer their team on, the way they show up, the energy in the building. $50. Interesting. Maybe it's because there's not a ton of knuckleheads out there that are trying to resell at a high price. So, somebody put in the chat that you are cheering for the Mavs. Okay. If you're cheering for the Mavs, then you also need to be cheering for the Bulls. Here's your scenario. If the Mavs and the Bulls both win tonight and make it into the playoffs, the Kings will go into a coin flip with Atlanta. The winner of that coin flip will get the 12th pick. We all know how important that number 12 is, because the Kevin Huerter pick, as it's known in Sacramento, is top 12 protected. So you need something that has never happened before. 2 10 seeds in the play-in to roll their way. Or excuse me, not the Bulls. The Bulls got bounced. The Heat and my bad, y'all. It's the Heat and the Mavericks that you are cheering for tonight. The Heat and the Mavs. If the Mavs and the Heat win, and they're both the first 10 seeds to work their way to the 8 seed, you're in a coin flip with Atlanta to keep your pick. That's pretty good, right? I actually think that there is a feasible road for that to happen. Look at this. The NBA guru actually showing up with a comment that he is contributing to the show and not pimping his own show. Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it. By the way, make sure you check out the NBA guru show. Pretty good stuff. They go on after us during the season. Not sure what their schedule is right now, but my bad on the graphic. It is the Heat and the Mavs. Heat and the Mavs win. You in a coin flip that isn't technically a coin flip. It's computer generated, but that is your scenario to keep the pick. Bobby Marks, one of my favorite people that covers the NBA, especially from a front office aspect. Aren't they? I think they're really good too. It's almost like if you, outside of going to, the cathedrals of basketball, Madison Square Garden, etc., Boston Garden, honestly, I think seeing a game in OKC would be my second choice. I would love to see a game in OKC. When the Kings were down, I had no problem rooting along for OKC when they were in the finals, when they had Durant, when they had Westbrook, Harden, all those guys. But okay, Miami and Dallas, my bad for the graphic. Thank you for picking me up there. Cost of living might be lower than most. Dude, there was some scary weather going through the Midwest last night. I tapped into that for a little bit. That was freaky. I know. Thank you. Thank you. Duh. Sorry, man. It has been a long 48 hours. My bad. Bad graphic.
That's terrible.
I'm going to fire the producer that did that. But anyways, Bobby Marks, here is what he has put out. What to watch for the Kings. I love when he does this, by the way. Now, here is the updated one. Since the Kings have been bounced, you for sure have the $42 million or the 42nd pick. You have that. A lot of stuff there we can go over. A lot of names. Look at all the turnover right now. Lyles, Laravia, Crowder, Fultz. Ellis is technically not a free agent. Is he a free agent? I believe that's a team option. That's why he's got the T there. So don't pay attention to that too hard. Yeah, that's a team option that the team is for sure picking up. But Keon Ellis, he was asked about it yesterday during his exit interview. He's going to be looking to get some clarification, possibly an extension. Keegan Murray also going to be in that same boat looking for an extension. So there's a lot of stuff here that we can go over, that we will go over. And certainly, Vivek, I mean, how are you feeling I know we are 24 hours removed from yesterday's show, 48 hours removed or almost there from the loss. This is a fan base divided, and I understand it. I get it. How you have Scott Perry lined up like that? Uh-oh. Oh, no. The computer's freezing, y'all. Okay, good. I'm not going to drop the sound drop on you. We're okay. Whenever the computer starts to freeze up.
Dong, dong, dong. Yeah.
My bad. I knew there was something up. It wasn't letting me change screens. Keon Ellis is a team option. Yes. So you're picking that up at $2 million. All right. Scott Perry, the fact that he was lined up already, we talked at length about it yesterday. A lot of us don't really know much about him other than he was part of the Kings organization in 2017, vice president of basketball operations. A lot of us asking around, well, what did he do? Sean Cunningham reporting that his biggest strength during those 3 months here in Sacramento was his relationship with the owner. I've been trying to dig a little bit deeper on that. Okay, well, was it a good relationship? Was it a yes man relationship like Briscoe and Patterson with Mr.
Yes,
McMahon?
sir, Mr. McMahon.
What was it? And our guy Patrick, who is a big time Knicks fan that has followed them for as long as I've known Patrick, lives in Long Island. He lived through Perry's time from 17 because he was with the Kings for 3 months. He was poached by the Knicks. He stayed there until 2023. Patrick lobbed us a call yesterday. I'm going to replay what Patrick had to say about Scott Perry.
Okay. Number one, when Perry was brought over to the Knicks, it was right after they let go of Phil Jackson. And there was another guy running the team. His name was Steve Mills. He was sort of like the owner, Dolan. He was sort of like his flunky. And he ran the team, and Perry assisted him. And the biggest thing going on at that time was Porzingis. He was like insulted, and he didn't play for like the whole year. And I remember Perry and Mills sending the coach at the time, David Fisdale, over to Europe to try to get Porzingis to stay. Well, long story short, Porzingis never stayed. And eventually, the Knicks let go of Steve Mills. So you think Perry would have been running the team at that time. He wasn't running the team. They brought in Leon Rose. And I think Leon Rose is more responsible for the Knicks turnaround than anything that Perry had to do with it. Now, I'm not there. I'm not in the owner's room or anything like that. But it's generally known that Leon Rose gets most of the credit for bringing in the players for the Knicks because he worked for a sports agency, and his son stayed with that agency, and they would get like a lot of players from like Kentucky and Villanova to join the Knicks.
All right, this is bad. We're early in the show.
That's terrible.
And this is the second time this computer is locked up. It's not an internet issue. It's a streaming issue with our software, but you can still hear me, so that is fine. It will refresh in a second. I'm going to read off some of your comments in the meantime and respond. The one that I was going to put up, when you really think about it, DC is the best option. The alternative would be an entry-level first-time NBA head coach. Look, I think Grant puts it really well. In fact, having Doug Christie as the head coach, it's the equivalent to having an entry-level head coach. It's no different. It's exactly what it is. I mean, what I worry about with Doug Christie, now here is my worry, and I think it's a legitimate one. Doug Christie has a very good relationship with the owner, right? Computer just unlocked. Doug Christie's relationship is very strong with the owner. It's why, in my opinion, he was plucked from the 4th seat on the bench and put as the interim head coach. Now you have Scott Perry, who really has not done much as of late, who has a good relationship with the owner. And presumably, if Doug Christie is the head coach, there is no reputable GM that wants to come in and build something of their own for a franchise that isn't going to hire their own head coach. There's just not. It's not how it works. So maybe DC is the best option if you're looking at the other first-time candidates in the pool out there short of Vivek, digging into his pockets and paying twice as much for a big name, because that's what it would take to get one of those to come to Sacramento. A Taylor Jenkins, definitely not a Mike Malone. But I worry that this entire game is just restarting in front of your eyes, and putting DC right there on the bench keeps half this fan base interested. It keeps half this fan base invested. Nobody's going to boycott DC. Nobody's going to boycott the Kings under him. I'm not suggesting you boycott, but what I'm telling you is your owner, your managing partner, is also the GM, is also the coach, if Doug Christie is the head coach. It's what it's going to be. How well has it worked out so far during Vivek's tenure? Not so good. Monty didn't want to trade for Zach LaVine. Guess who did? Vivek. Monty didn't want to fire Mike Brown. Guess who did? Vivek. Angeli. Do you see there's no checks and balances with Doug Christie as the head coach? And this is nothing personal against Doug. I think he did a decent job, but you have to acknowledge he got out-coached. And it wasn't even close in that play-in game. I'm on the record yesterday saying if Doug Christie's coming back, at the very least, you have got to put a veteran X's and O's coach right next to him as the associate head coach. All right, let's get some of you in on the conversation. We've got some calls lined up, a lot to get to here on this Royal Rumble Friday. Also, your comments, we'll be getting to those as well. Big thanks to Patrick for lobbing that call yesterday and giving us some insight on Scott Perry. Let's start with Gammon. Gammon, what's up?
Not much. Just going from a weird, crazy season to a weird, crazy off season. So not the stability that you're really looking for a franchise. Especially the other two teams that I really enjoy watching are the San Francisco Giants and the San Francisco 49ers. So, you know, you could take away a lot from those two teams. What I kind of wanted to say was trying to keep it somewhat positive, though it's really hard to when you're looking at the future. But my ideal offseason is one in which the Kings end up just getting really, really lucky with the lottery and then getting the 4th overall pick this year. Because I believe, and Mr. Ryan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if we do end up with a 13th pick, we're still in the pool for the lottery balls to maybe jump into the top 4. I'm not 100% on that. So before I
wait, run that back again, Gammon. How would you get to 13?
Or if we were in the 12 or 13, where is it where you're still able to get the lottery ping pong balls kind of going in for the top 4? Right? Where's the lottery end as
The
far as
well, the lottery is every team that missed. So it's 16 or it's 15 or 16. It's every team that missed the playoffs. So the 14 or the 16 playoff teams. So the lottery is 1 through 14. 1
okay,
through 14.
so technically, even if we don't, if the Bulls, I'm sorry, I got messed up when you're explaining it. So the Mavs and did we say the Bulls?
Yeah, that was my fault. The Mavs and the Heat need to win tonight to force a coin flip, which would decide whether or not the Kings or the Hawks are the 12th pick.
Okay. And then and let's say that doesn't happen. Do we go basically all the way to the 14th pick theoretically, but we're still able to have the lottery balls?
No.
Okay.
So here's the thing. If you are not in that 12th slot, that pick goes to Atlanta.
No matter what. We don't even get a chance for okay.
So what happens is what they do is they number the teams out by record, right?
Yes, sir.
And so once you have those numbers out, then they assign percentages on the balls. That's when they do the whole lottery thing. So if you are in the 12th slot, you will have a much lower chance of getting the first pick than being in the first slot or the second slot. It's very confusing how the NBA does it, but this is the step before you even get to figuring out if anybody's going to move up in the lottery.
So yeah, so my dream scenario then is that we end up having the 12th pick. We get to the 2%, 4% chance, whatever it is, that we get into the top. We get the top fourth pick. I'm not sure. I'm not going to be the one to say that or read that one out loud. But
Urs, how am I wrong? Correct me if I'm wrong. Other than what I said, it's not the Bulls, it's the Heat, and it's the Heat and the Mavs that need to lose tonight, which would trigger the coin flip for the Kings to keep the 12th pick.
Maybe he's saying that you're wrong in respect.
Oh, you know what? Urs is wrong. Urs is wrong because then if the King, okay, I see what you're saying, Urs. If they moved back in the lottery, then it could still go to Atlanta. All right, Urs, I got you. All right, fair enough. Stuff's confusing. All I know is you root for the Heat, you root for the Mavs tonight, right, and there's a coin flip.
Yeah.
Everything else is off the board. All right.
It makes everyone's jobs and lives a lot easier to figure this out. But yes, my dream scenario is that yes, we do magically get the 4th pick, which will give us either a great shot at either a point guard or a small forward. And then we got to trade Sabonis. We got to trade DeRozan. And just what I want to do is just basically just flush out the team, let a whole bunch of people walk or go or what have you. So in that way, then, we're probably going to have a really terrible roster next season. But then because next season, it's top 10 protected is the pick.
I believe so. Yes.
So if we are just that miserably terrible, then we take that top 10 pick, and then the year after that, it defaults to what, a pair of seconds?
Yes.
Or is that okay? So that's kind of my dream scenario, is that we get a top 4 pick. We got some guys who are a little long in their tooth. I'm even, and I know I'm going to lose. This is where I'm going to lose chat, and this is where you're going to cut me off and tell me to have a nice Friday. But I'm even willing to throw in Keegan Murray. I mean, just having just a really big reset. I'm afraid that with Perry here and then Doug Christie here, and what you've been laying out, your first monologue 15, 20 minutes into this channel, this stream, it doesn't sound like we're going to get competency. We're getting a couple of yes men, which is the big problem is with Vivek. I don't think Perry's going to be here to fight. I think he just got tired of the ESPN studio, came on down here, collect his couple million, not mad at him, and then he's done for the rest of his. He's not going to be ever trying to touch this NBA stuff anymore. And so I just think we just needed just an absolute, complete rebuild. But even then, I just don't see the light. I'm kind of just yammering right now, but I feel lost right now, Ryan. I do. I feel I feel lost because I just don't see a way out. Because what I'm afraid of is that it's going to come down time for Keegan Murray to start discussing his contract negotiations with us, and he's not going to be a supermax player. But I do think there's going to be a lot of options that are a lot more sexy.
Keegan knows he's not even close to a supermax player. He knows that.
Right. And there's only so much in that case that we can really offer him. And he's a guy that can, instead of like Zach LaRivia, Keegan Murray's a guy who can get a contract, a great contract from another organization that knows what they're doing, that they're about winning at the end of the day, and will give him minutes. You know, I think that's some big, and I'm really, really nervous that he could jump ship. When I'm thinking about Perry, I think
well, you have an opportunity to match if Keegan got to where he played out the last year of his contract.
Yes, sir.
You still have an opportunity to match any offer sheet that is made to him. So that's where the Kings hold a little bit of the power.
Okay. Yeah. And then kind of looking through Scott Perry's kind of his big, I guess, wins or deals that you want to say. And you were kind of alluding to, you can't really even give him full credit for any of the deals they did. But I guess the two biggest that come to mind is 2017. He really pushed for the Kings to draft De'Aaron Fox. And then also Jalen Brunson made that trade or helped facilitate that trade as well. But again, I don't see. I know Sam Amick he's really big on us getting Perry, but again,
no, he is not.
He's not. I thought that he was, so I misspoke. I thought I saw something on 1140, so
nope.
I must have heard that wrong. But yeah, I just don't see a very good winning scenario. I think that's just better. We're already ripping the bandage off. I think it's just better just to absolutely just nuke this thing, blow it up, just basically trade just about anybody and try and get enough capital, rebuild, kind of do what we're seeing some other teams do. The Thunder do, others kind of small market teams start going like the old school 76ers of just getting draft picks. And then once a player kind of develops, trade them for even more draft picks. But that's just, and you have to hope that there's enough arrows at the board, enough darts at the board where eventually a couple superstars make it. I want to ask you this question before I leave. And this is a thing that I'm extremely worried about because we're talking about a player going to his 12th season. What are your percentages that you give that we extend LaVine?
Oh my gosh. Dude, I don't.
The rumors are swirling. And I was just like, but we could be so close to getting out from underneath his contract and they're going to.
Gammon, I can't even begin to go there. No. No. That is probably how you would get, short of Zach LaVine coming out and being the MVP and playing 82 games next year. There is no scenario in which I think any team would be extending Zach. This was the worst contract in basketball. And now you're thinking about extending it. This is the contract that is not allowing you to blow this thing up. So if you're thinking about extending Zach LaVine, you might as well just change the name of the team to like the Harlem Globetrotters or whatever that team that always loses that plays the Harlem Globetrotters.
The Generals. I think it's
Just change it to the Generals, pull this team from the NBA and have them travel with the Harlem Globetrotters. That's what you do.
Doesn't that also tell us?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Doesn't that also tell us if really what version of Scott Perry or GM to owner relationship that we're going to have if we see LaVine extended?
Yeah, let's not even go there. We will send some people off the cliff. And we're only 35 minutes into the show. So appreciate your call, Gammon. Thanks, brother. Thank you for your service, by the way, too. All right, let me level with all you guys, okay? I had a graphic that was up at the beginning of the show. Wrong graphic. It had the Bulls instead of the Heat. What you are rooting for tonight is for the Mavericks and the Heat to win. That would trigger a coin flip and the possibility of the Kings hanging on to the 12th pick. Okay? I want to level with everybody. My bad with the graphic. Okay. Now, as for what Gammon was saying, I'm not even going there with the Zach LaVine extension. My mind cannot begin to process that. But I stand by exactly what I said. You have with Scott Perry, and respect to him. He was there, and here's okay. It's a two-sided coin. Speaking of coin flips, he was part of the Detroit era in the early 2000s. Okay, you know who hired him? Joe Dumars. How much have we heard Joe Dumars here in Sacramento? A Vivek guy, right? There is this small circle. It's almost like I'm starting to joke around. Like, what are all the different crime families? You know, like the mobs, like the Ronadive mob, man. And I mean, no disrespect. They're not doing anything illegal, but he's got his group. It's like the Ronadive gang, whatever you want to call it. And it's unilateral. It's yes, man. And Scott Perry, from what Patrick said, and I don't want to slander this guy because he has not been announced officially. He's not done a press conference. I listened to what Grant said last night. Grant said that he has talked with him before. He's met him. He is a very intelligent basketball mind, but he thinks he's here to get that last paycheck. And isn't that what we talked about, like going through the season and the worry about the Kings and the way that Vivek was running things and making decisions? It's you're not going to have a good candidate pool. You're going to have people that are looking to get paychecks, that are going to be yes men. And I'm telling you, the fan base, and that's where it's tricky. It's the evilest, smartest move in the world to put Doug Christie back on the bench as the head coach. But no GM. Scott Perry, and Grant's right. I'm using Grant and I'm paraphrasing here. Scott Perry's going to come out and said, we, evaluated the head coaches available, and we really do think that Doug's the best fit. The guys, I spoke with the players. They want to have Doug back. That's what you are probably going to hear. And here's the other thing. This whole Scott Perry thing unfolded while Monty McNair still had a job. I'm serious here when I ask this question. Do you think Scott Perry even had an interview for the job? I don't. Can't confirm that. But if I'm going off of Vivek's track record, hey, Scott, you want to come be my GM? Done. That's what I'm thinking. But all right, a lot of calls to get to. Bro? What's up, bro?
Yo, Rhino, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Is your name literally Bro?
No, I just wanted to name it Bro just because it was easy and,
All
smooth
right,
to come off
What's
the
up,
tongue.
man?
What do you think of, so can you pretty much guarantee Doug's going to be the coach at this point?
I said it yesterday, and I stand by it. It is more likely than unlikely that Doug Christie, and especially that we are now days removed from the GM being fired with no announcement from the Kings about Doug. I am fairly certain. I, at this point, would be very surprised if Doug Christie is not the head coach of the Kings.
Look, okay, I'm going to be honest. Like, I'm okay with Doug being the coach as long as we get, like, established, like, if he has bench, like, coaches next to him, like Terry Stotts or Nick McMillan next to him, then I'm okay.
Yep.
I'm okay with that at the end of the day.
Yep, I hear you, bro. Now, the only thing that worries me is that conduit that the owner has directly to the bench, right? And can you get a guy like as Terry Stotts? There's a few more out there. Hell, even a Scott Brooks. Could you get somebody like that to come be right next to Doug? because Doug's great to fire up the guys. He understands this fan base, but the X's and the O's are not there, or at least they weren't during his interim time.
Then okay. Then I also have a question on Levine.
Yeah.
What do you think of him declining his player option and him getting like since the cap raises like 5 to 10% every year, so like a $25-30 million a year deal if he declines that player option?
He would be an idiot to decline his player option. No team's going to pay him 48.9, basically $49 million. No team. Yeah.
So all of us should be rooting for the Heat and the Mavs tonight.
Heat and Mavs tonight, baby. All in on the Heat and the Mavs. The first 10 seeds to hopefully make it into the playoffs. It'd be the first time in the history of the playoff that 2 10s do it. So, hey, I appreciate you, bro. Thanks for the call.
I appreciate you. Yep.
Good job, bro. Lots of calls. Loving it from bro. We go to Ralph. What's up, Ralph?
Hey, how's it going,
dude? Ryan? You got Viejas behind you.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta think of a better background to have on here.
I love it, brother.
I've been doing some reflecting, and you were mentioning how we're 24 or 48 hours removed from just a tough way to end the season, but also expected. Looking at Beam Team 1, I felt like this is not new. We were healthy. But I think a big part of obviously with Mike Brown is I think teams didn't know the system we were running. We got a lot of wins off us shocking people with how we played. And
Beam Team
1. Yeah, Beam Team 1 for sure. And and I look back on that season. I remember one of the games that was really frustrating. Remember when the whole Golden One Center packed the arena with all the shirts and everything to clinch the playoffs? And we lost the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
It's just like we couldn't even win that game, and then we clinched against the Timberwolves. It just, not that was a signs to come, but that it was just really, really frustrating. And then I didn't have a problem with us running it back the second year. I think we needed to get longer and adjust at that trade deadline. Mm-hmm. But why didn't we, even after running it back, and then at that second trade deadline with the second Beam Team, why didn't we go after? I know we tried to trade for Pascal Siakam, but why did we not have? How are we not able to adjust and pivot in the way that we've seen the Mavs do and the Timberwolves did, even if those were the wrong decisions with Randall and Cat? Like, it didn't seem like we were making the right adjustments, because Monty always said patience, flexibility. Okay, so I'm assuming he's saving up for something big. It never happened. So what was all this stalling and waiting for to end up getting Zach, and it wasn't even his trade? That's what's really puzzling, right? We were waiting years and years for whether it was Cam Johnson or somebody else like that.
Yep.
Isn't that really crazy that he kept saying these things? And I know like in his interviews, he says a lot without saying really much, but nothing ever happened. I felt like that he made splashy other than Domas, but after that, I just never saw it from him.
Well, we don't know how much he was handcuffed. I mean, there were different deals that we had heard about from time to time. You mentioned a couple of them. Pascal apparently didn't want to come to Sacramento. Earlier this year, there was some talk that John Collins was possibly lined up in the preseason. Really what it tells me now, that this fan base is as privy as they are to how this owner is operating. I mean, you have that piece come out from Sam Amick, which basically says Monty fell on the sword. I really, and we had a caller yesterday that asked this, do you have to reevaluate the way that you look at Monty's tenure? And I think you do, to a degree, while also remembering he knew who he was going to work with, which means he thought he could probably play the game and still, have some autonomy, which ultimately did not happen. So I will remember Monty as you do, is somebody that is remembered for the moves he didn't make rather than the moves he made. And as it comes for the Levine one, I don't put that under a Monty move because of exactly what you said, patience and flexibility. There was no reason that you needed to get Fox out of town that quick. None whatsoever. In fact, you saw the team play a little bit better without Fox on the floor. Now, not saying that would have continued, but what I am saying is you had a unit that if Fox became a distraction because he didn't get traded, You send him off for surgery, and he's out for the season. And you roll with what you have, and you got more value probably in the offseason that you can get from Fox. More importantly, you can get a piece that your team needs. You saw this team operate well without a guy that was just hanging back and shooting three-pointers. And what did you do? You traded him to his preferred destination, and you got a guy that hangs back and shoots three-pointers. That's not nearly as durable as Fox, not as quick as Fox. Basketball IQ, not there in terms of Fox. That's a Vivek move. At some point, I think we need to start pointing at Vivek now that this whole thing's playing out with Scott Perry and likely Doug on his way back to Sac.
You mentioned the basketball IQ thing, and we've talked about this a bit. It makes De'Aaron Fox wasn't even the highest basketball IQ player, but Zach LaVine makes him look like a genius,
like a genius, right?
Yes,
like
100%,
like Ivy League. And that's De'Aaron Fox with a bad finger. I mean, De'Aaron Fox's finger was crooked. It looked like a left turn sign, but he still played through it. He was tough enough to do that, and even with that, IQ way better. So it's frustrating. It's very
they should have waited and wrote up the season, because even though the ceiling wasn't that high with Fox, you write up the season and play it out, and then trade him then, and then see what's going to happen, rather than the other thing I was going to mention too was yes, I think Vivek was his hands was in the LaVine trade, but I feel like it was also a last-ditch effort by McNair to maybe save his job, possibly. And if that's the case, then there really is no future in sight with doing a decision like that. Why are we making a decision so short-sighted by doing that if it's to save your job? And that's just my opinion on that too.
Okay, I don't. This is where, and I had the same take as you. I was there. I was like, you know what? Do you think, I even asked Jerry Reynolds, do you think it's a Hail Mary move? But by that point, what we're not thinking about is, did Monty even want to be here at the end? Wes Wilcox was the one handling a lot of the day-to-day stuff. By the time that Monty had to fall on the sword with the Brown firing, I think Monty was done. He knew he was done. Wes Wilcox jumped ship and leaves. And then you've got Luke Laux, who jumped ship and leaves. So I really think that was not a Monty move. That was a Vivek move, because you took the biggest opportunity the Kings had coming out of this, that I think this fan base wasn't looking forward to, but they were open to it, was blowing it up, starting from scratch, because you have 3, 4, 5 different, I want to say, solid pieces that are glue pieces that can really fit around and work with anybody, which we've seen the last couple of years. In Keon Ellis, I think Malik Monk's one of those guys. Keegan Murray, I have no idea what Keegan Murray is. All I know is he continues to improve in the areas where he has been asked to improve, and he's been a bit of a chameleon. Many of you would argue too much of a chameleon. Yes, he missed a lot of open shots, but I also take into account that almost all of the Kings' three-point shooters were missing open shots, because so much of the time they weren't touching the basketball. The ball was not moving. So you rebuild around those guys, and you have a ton of money to work with. You trade Fox away after the playoffs when you have a team maybe like Oklahoma City who ends up getting bounced, and it's like, dang, we should be there. We're not there. We need one more piece. A team like Houston, same thing. DeMar DeRozan wants to play for a contender. He would be willing, I believe, to come off the bench for a contender. And there would be a lot of value to be shopping both DeMar DeRozan and De'Aaron Fox this offseason to teams that are contenders. And a lot of those contenders are lined up well with picks in the future. Hell, even a Phoenix, a team like that, they're going to be making major moves. Could you have gotten Devin Booker for Fox? Who knows? But doing the LaVine deal, now you are literally stuck in basketball purgatory, not only from a payroll standpoint, but if Zach LaVine plays like Zach LaVine, this team's going to be hanging around the 10, 9, 8 seed in the West, most likely.
And that's the thing too. And I know Vivek's rich beyond rich, but he's paying the Mike. He's partly paying the Mike Brown thing.
He's not as see. Go ahead.
But yeah, just Mike paying for Mike Brown to sit on his couch, and then the Zach LaVine contract up to he's 34, 35 is just like ridiculous. And all these things. I think wasn't he was paying for the other coaches we fired, whether it was Walton and Carl, for just that ended just so recently too. And that's what's also frustrating is seeing these teams that were behind us ascend, and we haven't figured it out. And that's why I mentioned why this franchise hasn't been able to pivot in the ways that other teams have. Like my hope was that we would be like maybe the Trailblazers, and I went with Lillard and McCollum during that beam tier. I didn't expect us to win a championship, but at least sustain playoff success. And that has never happened. And since the glory days, and like, I wanted us to tank. And it's so funny that our owner wants us to win, but his obsession with immediate, I don't know, maybe immediate satisfaction, when we could maybe if we were just bad for a little bit, and I don't know if we'd even draft the right players, but bad for a little bit, and then hopefully end up to where we'd want to be and tank correctly. It's just that's really frustrating to me.
Yep, and I hear you. I hear you.
One more point here is with Domas, and you mentioned this before. Our players are asked to do too much on this roster, but when I look at players like Hartenstein and who does his role, I could argue that somebody like Hartenstein does something better for his team on a good team with his role than sometimes we have Domas. And you said maybe having DeMar come off the bench and things like that. We're asking our players to do too much, where maybe DeMar's coming off the bench or Domas playing the 4 position because he can't defend. Just our players are being asked to do too much for this franchise and for this team and our current roster construction.
I'm with you, Ralph. Yeah. That was the overwhelming thing from exit interviews yesterday. So yeah. Hey, appreciate you. Thanks for the call. Good job by you. Okay. Yeah. Progressive. I was 100% the #1 trade Fox guy, but trade him at the right time. While that was all going on, I never said trade him at the deadline unless it was the perfect deal. Unless it brought that point guard and the draft picks that this organization needed. Go back and watch all the shows. I always said in the summer, Jerry Reynolds and I talked about that. Because then you have the market changes in the summer for 2 reasons. The first reason is because you have really good teams that thought they were there that don't win championships. And now they're reevaluating where their hole was. Darn, it was shooting. Man, it was penetration, right? And then secondly, you have teams that begin falling in love with draft picks. Or they don't fall in love with anybody in the draft. And they're looking to trade out, trade back. So you have more options and more leverage. Arguably, during the summer, you probably have 29 teams. And even the champions are probably looking to improve. But you have 29 teams that are looking to improve. At the trade deadline, you don't. You have teams that are saying, you know what? We like what we have. If something falls into our lap, sure. But we're not going to reach for anything. I just don't believe in Ralph brought it up about, and I said it all the time too. Monty McNair always wanted to keep things fluid. He never wanted a bad contract on the books. And with the direction this team was going, there was no reason at that point to put the bad contract on the book. In fact, there was a bigger argument to stay away from a bad contract so you have the option to rebuild properly. Speaking of exit interviews, Domantas Sabonis yesterday, and then we'll get to your call, Tay.
12 hours since the play loss, and just what that's been like with the departure of Monte and now the hiring of Scott?
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. I'm hearing news as the meetings go on. So yeah, I don't have much to say right now. Just trying to take it all in.
Tomas, when you look at your future, it's been widely reported that you want to know some answers on where the direction goes within this organization. What factors are you thinking about and considering when you're asking about being in Sacramento long term?
First of all, I want to say I love it here. You know, I want to stay here. I want to win here. I also do want to know what's going to happen. You know, all these things are happening so quick. You know, I want to get together with the new people, whoever comes in. You know, and really try to get this right. You know, and get it back to where it was 0.
Tomas, along those lines, do you want to have a say? Like, if you are in the cards for this going forward, do you want to have an active voice and an active, like a say in maybe directions and decisions going forward?
Yeah, I wish, you know, that would be great, you know, to trust some of your guys who've been here longer on how to try and change things around.
I guess along those lines, you just said you're kind of learning of the news as it's happening. Did anybody consult you at all, whether that be with the Monte decision or the hiring or anything?
No, nothing.
And then can I just ask you about Keegan Murray?
I want to step in really there, and I will go on the record and say that nobody, not a single player, was consulted on the Perry move.
Of an up and down season offensively. Obviously, he took on a larger defensive role this year, but how would you just evaluate Keegan's season?
You know, he stayed professional. He stayed working. You know, it's only his 3rd year, and this is probably my craziest year in the league too. So for him to go through that really early, I'm happy he had some good vets around him. You know, that we could help him out and get through the year. You know, and he really embraced it.
Domantas Sabonis was usually the more smiley, energetic type. This is about as candid as you will hear him. You now have 2 All-Stars, one a Hall of Famer in DeMar DeRozan that stepped up to the podium less than 18 hours after their season ended and say it was the craziest season they have ever been a part of. Now, when it comes to Domas asking for clarification, what clarification are you going to give him? If you're bringing and assuming you're bringing Doug Christie back, you hired a GM before you fired your GM, and you didn't interview anyone. The only clarification that you can give Domas after what he saw this year was, yeah, we're actually closer to driving off the cliff. And here's the other problem. I don't know where Domas's preferred destination is. I saw that in the chat. I have no idea. Here's the other thing. I said it yesterday, and I really am beginning to question this. Let's go to this really quick, the share screen, because you can see the players' salaries. I'm really beginning to question if the team has done irreparable harm to Domas's value, at least at what he's being paid. Domas is a walking double-double, some nights a triple-double. He brings it. He's tough as hell. He's reliable. He leads with his actions and not his words. He doesn't complain. Right? But you just spent 3 years experimenting with Domantas Sabonis playing without a point guard. Because Brian Windhorst saying that De'Aaron Fox is a point guard, I completely disagree with that. He is not. He is a scoring guard. He is closer to a James Harden. He's closer to one of those guys. He's a scorer and not a creator. So the only realistic thing that I can pull from these 3 years about the Kings thinking, whether it was Monty, whether it was Vivek, whether it was Vivek's circle of advisors, his cronies, the only thing I can pull is that we don't need a point guard. We're going to keep getting those guys that are in between point guards and in between two guards because Domantas Sabonis is our point guard. Well, what's been shown over these last 3 years? Domantas Sabonis cannot play the point guard. You can't run your offense 24/7 through him like the Denver Nuggets do. What I'm saying is there is a clear line in the sand, and yes, there was already a separation between him and Jokic, but that gap is even further now. Domantas Sabonis is a guy that's got to play down low. He's got to play off the pick and roll. He's going to be a grinder. And now under this CBA, you can't afford to pay a grinder $50 million a year. That's got to be a centerpiece. So are you going to take a haircut on Domas? And here's the other thing, and write it down, Progressive. There is no rush to get Domantas Sabonis out of town. If Domantas Sabonis, if there is not the right deal out there for Domas, you wait. You wait, you wait, you wait until that right deal comes. It is not a fire sale. You know why? Because his feelings, his concerns about the organization don't affect his play on the court. We saw that this year. He brings it every single night. The same could not be said about De'Aaron Fox. Remember, there were two guys left in the locker room still on this team after the trade deadline that didn't want Mike Brown as coach. There's reports, it's written in ESPN. Two of the three guys are still in the locker room. Domantas Sabonis did not want Mike Brown, and it never affected his play. Not one time. Not one single time. That's why you do not rush to trade him, in my opinion. And Zach LaVine, I don't even know what you do with him at this point. Tay, what's up, man?
Hey, Rhino. To add some positivity for the last time, go Stockton Kings. All right, enough with that.
Go Stockton!
Good job by you.
But in all seriousness, I'm proud of them. But, back to the Kings. Hey, is it a more or less foregone conclusion in your opinion and from the, feelings from other Sacramento media that Doug is indeed going to come back?
100%.
I particularly didn't like Doug Christie's exit interview that much. He kind of talked about that he needs to, finish what he started. Just really got emotional, and I didn't really like that, part of the speech. I thought he could have gotten more into the X's and O's, and if he wants to come back, what type of team does he want to build? Does he want to build a defensive team, offensive team, or even a defensive offensive team? At least gives us some substance instead of just going on a emotional roller coaster. I think a lot of the callers nailed it. I think the best way to fix this mess, there's not an easy solution, but it's really to tank, and to win in this league, you need someone like a Jokic, SGA, Giannis. So I actually do like the path of taking the way that Sixers did. One of the previous callers mentioned it. I don't see any other way that they can fix this. And it's not all about just getting the right head coach. It's about getting the right pieces. And, we're strapped in with Zach LaVine. Not many free agents want to come to Sacramento, with all the things dysfunction going on. And, DeMar DeRozan saying that this was his hardest year amongst his 16th season is saying a lot because DeRozan's been through a lot. He's been swept by LeBron, went through depression and, at some parts of his career. So him saying that indicates how much, dysfunction is within this organization. And I'm starting to question whether Vivek even graduated from MIT because he definitely is not a smart guy in terms of how to properly run an organization.
I'm not going to call him not. I'm not going to sit here and say he's not smart. I'm going to sit here and say he needs to read Strength Finders and he needs to learn how to delegate. You got to know. You got to know.
Micromanage his staff either.
Basketball was not what Vivek made his money on. It was tech. So yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you, Tay. Hey, thanks for the call, brother. Appreciate you. Yep. Okay, so before I get to Dirk, I want to look. I see the comments about Sabonis disappearing. I see all of that. I'm not saying that Sabonis doesn't have bad games. I'm not saying that Domantas Sabonis doesn't have holes in his game. But if you want to talk about him disappearing on Wednesday night, we also need to talk about Doug Christie not adjusting one single time until the fourth quarter, bringing in Doug McDermott. Jonas Valanciunas played 10 minutes. Sabonis was surrounded by three bigs, y'all. And he was playing some really good straight-up defense on Anthony Davis to begin the game as well. There's a lot Sabonis still needs to work on. Is he a good decision maker? I think he took a step back this year. I do. But historically, he's been a good decision maker. He hasn't always been a quick decision maker. Mid-range, got to get better. Three ball, got to get better. Turnovers, has to get better. But here's the thing that I'm going to say. You did not have the proper ingredients around Domantas Sabonis. You asked him to wear hats and play roles that weren't to his strengths. And yes, I get it. They're NBA players. He's making a ton of money. Figure it out. But there's some middle ground there. You need to have a solid point guard that is a distributor, that can make a shot, that can run the pick and roll effectively and put pressure on the defense to get the best out of Domantas Sabonis. Because if you don't have that, then what you're doing is you are putting Domantas Sabonis on the perimeter and asking him to initiate the offense, play make for everybody else. I think he's done a pretty effective job of it, considering nobody else could do it besides Malik Monk. Now, Sabonis really is the best Sabonis when he's running the pick and roll, when he's getting downhill with a point guard, and then you pull him out to the perimeter. Now you've got a problem if you're the other team. Because yes, then he can start passing and DHOing and doing whatever for a portion of the game. It's a changeup. It shouldn't be a fastball. And that's the only pitch, a fastball, the Kings used with Sabonis the last 3 years outside of the chemistry with Malik Monk. Dirk, what's up?
Dirk, hey, sorry.
Brother?
Hey, I gotta counter with this, man.
For sure.
I'm not saying Sabonis doesn't have value, but at his contract value on this team now, he has just I've seen enough of him in the playoffs to know he's going to come up short or below his averages when things matter. And it's not all his fault, again, being put in this situation, but based on the stories and news that's coming out that Zach LaVine was Vivek's guy, right?
Yep.
Vivek wanted Zach here. Zach is vocal about how much he wanted here when all I'm hearing is nobody else wanted Zach LaVine here.
Yep.
Right? So he's Vivek's guy. That has sealed our fate because those two just do not work together. 10 turnovers between between two guys. And every game where there was lots of turnovers, those two were usually the top two. So they have no chemistry together. And what confidence do you have moving forward that Doug Christie is going to be able to find a way to build that chemistry somehow or instill an offense that allows them to not create all these turnovers?
You keep them away from each other and you have a point guard working with Sabonis and you've got Zach LaVine as your true shooting guard. Instead, you're trying to run LaVine as a scorer, a guy that really should be taking no more than 2 or 3 dribbles. You've got him running pick and roll with Sabonis, which is an absolute nightmare. You just can't do it.
Speaking of nightmares, them on the defensive end.
Yes, it's a great point.
Because Zach LaVine plays some of the worst defense I've seen because I don't know what it is, but he's just always positioned. He is never going to make a plus play on the ball, right? He's never going to sneak in and get a steal or like how De'Aaron would reach around, poke the ball out. Like he never even attempts to make those plays. The only time you ever see him get steals are off balls when he jumps the passing lane. That means you have no on-ball defense from your two guard with him. And Sabonis totally gave up protecting the rim at all. Personally, I think Keegan's exit interview where he says, I don't want to play the 5. To me, that's almost like a direct shot at Sabonis, like saying, dude, you don't defend anymore. And he does have value, but he's not worth his contract. And so we have two bad contracts of the two highest paid players on this team that don't have chemistry together and don't work well together. And the more I've been thinking about how did this team end up without a point guard, I have to point it right at Vivek.
100%.
So Monty didn't ever want to do the deal in the first place because I guess Vivek wanted us to get Zach LaVine the previous year, which he refused to do. And like if Vivek's telling him get him at any cost and there's no point guard available, you let Vivek sort of set up this team for failure. And it's so frustrating how silly this is. But I think you have no choice. If you can get off Sabonis, you have to do it because you're not getting off Zach LaVine. And those two are not going to work well together. They're not going to develop chemistry. They're going to make the same silly mistakes. And he's never going to rise to that contract. He could improve in minute ways. But the man is not a thinker. He's not a thinker. He's not cerebral. The best case for this I saw was in an interview where he was talking about his father and his father telling him ways to improve his game and new angles. And he said like, I never thought about it that way before. And that told me everything that I needed to know about him and how he views the game. He's a guy that puts in all the work, right? He does. He'll drill the skills you need for him, but in that moment, he's not thinking. He's just reacting. And so I just think he's peaked. He's a very good player, but he can't be your franchise cornerstone.
No.
What do you say to that?
I completely agree with you. I think Zach LaVine relies on his athleticism to get him by. I think that he sees or feels his athleticism can make up for things in different spots. Like you talk about poking a ball from behind like Fox would do. We see Keon do it all the time. I think Zach LaVine in his mind thinks that he can do that, but constantly over and over again, he gets beat. And I don't know about his work ethic. I've never looked into his summer workouts. He looks like a guy that doesn't read the floor. Instead, he goes to spots. And that's true of many of the Kings towards the end of the season, but a lot of that I put as much on coaching as I do the players, because you have a coach that says, I don't want to teach you a play. I want to teach you how to play. Well, guess what, coach? You've got 30 games left in the season and 3 or 4 guys that have not played together. It's not like this is the team that had been together for 2.5 years. So yeah, you are in a very precarious spot right now between the two of them. It's just the point guard thing, straight from Vivek, no doubt. Monty would have most likely, and you saw Monty try here and there to get like a Jordan McLaughlin. Didn't work out. I mean, honestly, the truest point guard this team's had, Dirk, in the 3 years, quote unquote, beam team years, is Matthew Dellavedova. He was the truest point guard. And so I don't know. It is a mess, but this is what Vivek wanted.
Yeah, and it's frustrating for all of us fans. I mean, you can get by with a point forward. You don't need a traditional point guard per se, but you need a creator. You need somebody who can make other people around them better. And I'm hearing that Indiana, I guess, would have taken Fox over Halliburton, but I'm trying to picture Halliburton and Sabonis working well together, and that doesn't make sense to my brain either, because you have to have guys that want to score and shoot. So the last thing, just to comment on, I'm getting sick of this Keegan hate, and I think you and I have the same opinion here.
Yeah,
that guy is coming in trying to make up for all of this team's shortcomings, to fill in for on defense for all of these guys who, again, you have 3 guys who play offense and 2 guys who play defense in your starting lineup.
Yeah,
that's essentially what you have. You brought in DeMar DeRozan, who shoots 20 shots a game, and people are mad at Keegan for his averages dropping down to 12 from 15.
Yep.
Like, you can't ask. Most guys, when they come in the league, high rookie picks, they're usually featured players on offense, right? So maybe Keegan, if Keegan was the 3rd option on offense, how well he's figured out the defensive side. We all saw those 2 huge blocks against AD, right? Like, you think like any 3 on a team can do that? Like, this guy Keegan is playing better than OG Anunoby in his 3rd year. For those who are seeking out that player or thought like this would be a good fit for this team, you need hope. You need a future. You need some opportunities for guys to develop.
Amen.
Keon Ellis has had a steady improvement, but if you evaluate Keon, there is a ceiling. He is not a superstar. He's an ideal 3-and-D, and maybe it develops some elements. I don't think Keegan has all-star potential. I think he has all defense potential, but 16 to 18 points a game is reasonable. He has aspects of his game that in college, he was in the 99th percentile around the basket. We haven't seen that side of him, and I'm not saying the NBA centers are going to allow for that, but this guy has put in the work. You listen to the exit interview, he talks about eventually he knows it will be his turn to be featured. We brought in DeMar, and that set him back. DeMar is who he is, but do not give up on this kid. He is an exceptional player, and he is a winner. But you just have to have a team that's structured and makes sense. And right now, I mean, sadly, that's not going to be, at least for a couple of years, based on the way things are going. Who knows if he's still on the squad at that time? But
well
enough
said,
with
Dirk.
the Keegan slander.
Well said, Dirk. Appreciate you. Dirk knocked it out of the park. on the back end. Keegan Murray is a guy that I will go to bat for every day of the week. Can I defend him for missing wide open 3-pointers? No, I can't defend any NBA player that plays 1 through 4 for missing wide open 3-pointers. Can I look at some of the other factors that I think attributed to that? Sure. And I hate that Kings fans, and I rarely use the word hate, you point the finger at Keegan Murray twice as much if he's not making a 3. The reality of the situation is the Kings' lack of adjustments to what they were doing the Beam Team year, and De'Aaron Fox taking more 3-pointers set almost every Kings 3-point shooter back. It set them back. Think about the best times this season. What was happening? The ball was moving. So not only do you go to DeMar DeRozan, which I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem with DeMar. But yes, there's a concession made to Keegan's game, to his growth in that area, because those shots are going to go to DeMar DeRozan. But then you bring in a Zach LaVine. That is also setting Keegan back. If I put together film from year 1 to year 2 to year 3 that showed you Keegan's development, if you knew the things that the coaching staff has asked Keegan to do at the end of every season, he has knocked every single one out of the park within the context of the opportunity that Keegan Murray has been given. The guy that he worked with in the off seasons until he was traded, De'Aaron Fox, hurt Keegan's game as much as he helped Keegan's game on the court in the regular season. So this Keegan hate, Dirk, I'm with you, man. I'm here for it. If this team had an opportunity to rebuild traditionally, and here's what also concerns me with Keon Ellis's exit interviews. Keon's talking about, and he needs to work on his handles. Keegan Murray needs to work on his handles. But Keon was talking about becoming a more effective point guard. Dude ain't a point guard. If you're going to ask him to turn into the point guard for this team, that's a problem. That's not what his role should be. So it's a lot more questions than we have answers. But if it was a traditional rebuild, Keegan Murray, and I've been saying this for weeks, would be my featured forward in my starting 5. And I think a lot of you would be surprised at what this kid would do. In fact, if I'm looking at this roster, 2 things come to mind. The first is the Valanciunas trade had more effect on this team than the Zach LaVine trade did in a positive way. The second thing that I'm looking at is if there's one name on this roster right now, the younger pieces, that is a non-negotiable for me, that they are not on the trading block, it's Keegan Murray. Hands down. It's not even close for me. So I get and I respect everybody's opinions on it, but this kid does not get a fair shake for what he is asked to do. And what Dirk said about even just the defensive end, he's your defensive captain. 100%. Uh-oh. This guy's going to spew some Sacramento Kings hate. By the way, we always tease him. We do the Lee Corso drop whenever he comes in here. Actually, he might be a good person to talk to because he went through a Portland rebuild that has gone fairly well. Lee Corso no longer going to be on College Game Day. He's turning it in. It's probably the right time. It's going to be a different show without him, but I thought it was one of the cooler things to see Kirk Herbstreit and the rest of the guys on that show pick him up and still walk him through and help him be able to effectively be on the show, because certainly some of his faculties had began diminishing, but so maybe in honor of Lee, since it's the last time, we will welcome Haunted Horse.
Not so fast, midget. Not so fast, midget. Yeah, little guy.
What's up?
You are the only caller that I have to turn down.
Yeah, right. And I can adjust that here too.
I got it. I got you down. What's up, buddy?
My face is all red. Ooh. What is up? No, I know you're joking around. I do not come in here and spew Sacramento Kings hate because you are you and I are friends. I actually root for the Kings unless they're playing the Trailblazers. I mean, I'm not going to root for them to beat my local team, but I will say, as someone, and we've talked about this before, as someone that was up here with their team and saw it kind of deteriorate, and they tried to rebuild it on the fly around Damian Lillard, and they just could not get that right. There is a time, and when I was probably about a year early on the Damian Lillard trade. I'm like, we just gotta get what we can and start over. It's not, and they still tried. You guys are doing that right now. You're trying to, you had that playoff run, and you're like, it just needs to be tinkered with, and it's like you got to blow it up.
Yeah, really quick.
Especially
I want to
small market.
Doge. Call me a Keegan Homer. Call me what you want, my man. They're not excuses. When other coaches come in and do their pregame interviews, he's the dude they rave over. You're gonna tell me that most of the best coaches in the NBA are also homers? It's crazy. Like, you're making my point for me. You're saying his three-point shot regressed. So did everyone else's, Doge. Everyone else's, besides Domantas Sabonis and Keon Ellis. That's a system thing to me. Anyways, Horse, sorry.
Oh, wait. It linked up with my headphones again. Oops, I lost my drop. Anyway, yeah, small market teams, we have something that the big markets don't have. We do not attract free agents. So that is just not happening. So you build through the draft and through trades, right? Draft and trades. So you guys are going to have to blow it. I don't know how they make this work. A point guard would be interesting. I've talked to you this off the show. But I thought maybe 8 games you get with a point guard, and you're like, no, not that many. 8 more wins is what I meant. So it's just time to dismantle it. And what's interesting though is, I know you guys haven't picked a coach yet, but I get the vibe that Christie might stay there. And I'm like, if they're gonna try to redo this on the fly, it's just not gonna work. You got to blow it up. But if they're going to keep Christie, then I'm guessing they're going to try to make it work by making 1 or 2 little moves. It's just weird. The rebuild sucks. I've seen the horrible games where your team is just lost and turnovers, and it's a big mess. But once you get to where we are now, I am actually looking forward to next year. And I don't know how many Kings fans are looking forward to next year. That's the difference. So once you get through the down 1 or 2 years and you get those high draft picks, Klingon and Scoot Henderson, you know, they're starting to. Klingon he's a great defender. I can't wait until his game when he gets the experience in the NBA.
My bad, Doge, by the way. You make a good point in this sense. Klingon was a guy, Portland had a plan. They had a clear plan in place for their rebuild. Klingon was a guy that they targeted before he even started his senior year of college. That was the dude they wanted, and they couldn't believe that he fell into their lap. And so they're ahead of the curve. I think two things come to mind that with hiring Scott Perry, and I'm making an assumption here because there seemed to be no process of interviewing GMs. There seemed to be nothing more than, oh, he's been here before. Sean Cunningham says that his best attribute was having a strong relationship with the owner. To me, a rebuild's off the table. Like, this is Vivek Ranadive just kind of doing what he wants with the basketball team and charging higher ticket prices for it. And here's the other thing, Kings fans, I'm going to probably piss you off here. Can we call it a rebuild? Were the Kings even there? They made the playoffs one time. Maybe this has been a rebuild all along. We're still in a rebuild. It was an outlier when the Kings made the playoffs the Beam Team year. I hate to say that, but based off the last 3 years, the Kings have made the playoffs one time in 18 years.
Oh, wow.
So maybe we never came out of a rebuild. We're still there.
Yeah, and you are where you don't want to be. And I saw Portland do this as we were in the Western Conference Finals, and that was our peak with Lillard and McCollum. You know, that was that team. And then we started to drift, and then they tried to trade CJ to try to patch it, and it just was a slow slide. And when you get to that point where you're mid, your draft picks are mid, because you're just good enough to sniff the playoffs, but you don't hang around. So your draft picks are and you just kind of flounder in that middle. You either got to dive to the bottom or find a way to rebuild it quickly on the top. And I don't think you have the pieces for that. You need trade bait to do that. So,
and that's the problem. You don't.
We trade McCollum. We got burned because of where I forgot what happened, but we lost the draft pick because it was protected to a certain level or whatever, and we didn't even get anything for him. It was more of a salary dump.
And that's the problem. You don't have the trade bait anymore. We've had the discussion about Sabonis. I don't think he's trade bait. Your best trade bait to me is DeMar DeRozan, and that's to a contender.
Yeah.
Where he's going to come off the bench. That's going to be a team that fell short of winning a championship this year. Other than him, it's not there. You're going to have to take a haircut on somebody. My guess is, based off of this owner's obsession with Zach LaVine and the fact that some people are hearing, I have not heard this, but some people are hearing, they're talking about Zach LaVine extensions. It's probably not going to be him. So who are we going to hang out there?
Real quick.
Devin Carter? Devin Carter, anybody? Keegan, and those saying Keegan Murray, you have now passed the point to me of where you can get his max value because of the length that is left on his contract. If you were going to trade Keegan Murray, it would have been either this summer or this trade deadline. So I just don't think that you would get the fair value. And I actually, if you wanted, I'm with Dirk here. I think you extend him, you develop him, and I think Doge said that too. If you wanted to make that your trade bait, you let him develop some more and then go from there. But we're talking about like years from right now. Like, it's just, I feel so terrible for this fan base, Horse. Like, the pit in my stomach that everywhere you look is a dead end. Everywhere you look,
you guys have boxed yourself into a corner. Every move was painting yourself into a corner and leaving yourself no no alternative plan. And the only alternative plan is just to dump. But real quick, MJ96 came at me, and that's fine. I would say 90% of your audience knows more about basketball than I do. I'm just a fan. It's NBA is probably my third passion behind MLB and the 49ers. But I said, why are you spewing ESPN talking points about, quote, small markets not attracting free agents, unquote? Didn't we get DeRozan? Let me reply to that. I'm 55 years old. I've seen Portland Trailblazers. Our big free agent in Portland was Scottie Pippen. That was the big free agent, the big one. Yours is DeRozan. If that's what you think is your big free agent acquisition, you prove my point. He's a good player on his downside. We're talking about sixth man on a contender. If that's your big free agent, you prove my point. Because we're not getting the big ones. We're not
I'm
New
a
York,
man.
we're not
I'm
Boston,
40.
we're not the Lakers, we're not even the Clippers. We are not getting those players in small markets unless you pay 30 to 40% more than any of the other markets will pay. You may get one that only thinks about money. But
Well, it's not
coming to Portland and Sacramento.
You're right. And the exception to the rule of Sacramento has been, well, you get them here and then they love it. They want to stay. They start talking to other guys. Turn that on its head. You get them here. It was a nightmare. DeMar DeRozan said it was the hardest season he has ever been through.
That's crazy.
It's not exactly a shining compliment and a shout out to the rest of the guys to say, hey, you should come play in Sacramento. That's the sad part. We don't even have that to say anymore as Kings fans.
Lillard went on the road the last 2 years as a Blazer and was begging free agents to come here. It's amazing. The fans are awesome. The culture, the food, the nightlife it's great. It's a great city to be in.
The coffee shops with lingerie.
The coffee shops are amazing. He couldn't get anybody. In fact, what would happen would be they'd say, no, dude, you need to come here. He kept getting recruited away from Portland. They were not coming here. And that was, Damian Lillard on a team that looked like it was one piece away from contending, and we couldn't get that last piece. So, I'm just saying, I've been the small market life with the Portland Trailblazers, and you have these ebbs and flows, and we get our big star players by trading for them or drafting. And that's and if you're not high in the draft, then you've just taken one of the bullets out of your 2-bullet gun.
Is this true? You guys have 400 strip clubs in Portland?
We have more strip clubs per capita than anywhere in the world. Per capita. Yes. We have a lot of strip clubs.
Very interesting.
I've only been to 390 of them. So I couldn't tell you about the other 10.
Seriously, Horace? Seriously? Well done. Well done. You got anything going tonight? In fact, you got something going here in a few minutes.
I got my show and marble races at the end. And Peter, I don't know if Peter's still in the chat, but Peter's been begging for a button. Is something that you get bestowed on my show for loyalty and everything else. And he doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to debut the Peter Anderson button tonight. I also have Gail guest hosting, Gail from Valencia. So
cool. We'll have a great show. Awesome.
All right, appreciate you.
Seeing the button.
And don't forget to watch NBA Guru's show.
Can you believe the nerve of that guy?
I saw it as you guys ended your show going into the game. He goes, I'm going to be broadcasting during the play-in game. Come on. I thought that was great. Why not?
I mean, I'm not mad at it. I love Zach. Yeah. As long as he's not going up against us.
And what did he want when he won the March Madness? He wanted to be called something like the college guru or something.
Yeah, the college guru.
The college guru.
I told him, okay, but
with an ego.
Okay, but here's the thing. If he is going to come in here and boast when he calls his shot, or he wins something, he also needs to come in here when he screws something up. Like Zach, not the meter ramp guru.
I agree.
You know, you gotta play it both ways. So, all right, brother,
By the
love
way,
you. Be
Giants
well.
fans, real quick.
Oh yeah.
You know who bought me this? A Dodger fan made a bet. He lost, and he had to buy me a Giants hat. I got a Dodger fan paid his money for this. Have a good weekend, everybody. See you
All right,
later.
brother.
Happy
Be
Easter.
well. Good job by Haunted Horse. Look, I think this is a fair question. But I think it's in the middle. I don't think that DeMar's I'm not going to call him a ball hog. I don't think the quantity of DeMar's shots came from a bad place. I think that DeMar in certain times thought that it's what needed to be done to get the team through a stretch. Because we can get on him, and I get on him about the DeRozan pace, but he's also responsible for about 4 or 5 wins where he scored 11, 12, 14 down the stretch. You know what else he's responsible for? He's responsible for stepping on the three-point line more than he was behind it. That is the only thing that I will truly knock him for this season. He played way more minutes than he expected to play. But the toes on the 3-point line, it almost felt like it was beginning to be like a troll thing. Like, I am such a mid-range guy that I am purposely putting my toes on this 3-point line and making it a 2-point shot. It was too much for me. There's no doubt about that. Hey, I appreciate everybody being here. We're going to talk WrestleMania 41 here in just a few minutes. It is WrestleMania weekend. Kicks off tomorrow, the grandest stage of them all. To me, the grandest stage of dining here in the area. That's Bennett's Restaurants, prime cuts of seafood and steak. Also, one of my favorite places for happy hour, 2 to 6 p.m. every single day. Also, if you're not in the mood for a big, heavy steak, don't worry. Got great homemade salads, soups, breads, etc. We love if the mushroom soup's on the menu, you got to get it. I love the steak Cobb salad. Also, not going to break your wallet. They've got some great deals throughout the week, like Wine and Dine Mondays. What about weekend brunch? 11 to 2 p.m., all 3 locations, Rockland, Roseville, and Howe in Fair Oaks. Especially this time of year, if you want to go sit on the patio, have a mimosa, and enjoy the weather, have brunch, that's the place to do it. Go to the Rockland location, the Roseville location. You can get 2 entrees and a bottle of champagne for under $60. And no joke, because when my family gets there for brunch, it's usually after the mimosa crowd has left, and it's because it's closer to like the 1:30-ish time. Almost every table the last time we were there had an empty bucket of champagne and ice and everything on it. So go be like those people. Take advantage of it. Also, go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You can look at the other specials like prime rib on the weekends, their weekday sandwich menu at lunchtime, 11 to 4 p.m., and seasonal menus. Make your reservations there. Mother's Day coming up. Easter might be a push, but you can do your reservations, put in to-go orders, and more there. And let them know you heard about them on the channel. And conversely, let us know if you go in. We'll retweet it. We'll, who knows? Maybe I'll send Brian a message, be like, hey, my guy's coming in tonight. Take care of him. I did that for Mike this last weekend. So let us know for sure. And a big thanks to Brian, Margot, the team there at Bennett's. And when I say it's prime cuts of seafood and steak, I am not lying to you. Look at the New York Prime right there in the bottom right corner. Holy moly, Jimbo.
Holy moly, Jimbo.
Some good stuff right there. So go check them out. Bennett'sRestaurants.com. It's where you can find more information on their 3 locations. Like I said, we are going to switch gears here for about 20-30 minutes. It is WrestleMania weekend. You know, we squeeze in because it's Royal Rumble Friday. We usually squeeze in a little bit of wrestling during the week, but this is the granddaddy of them all. Like, this is the biggest one. 2 nights. WrestleMania, Saturday and Sunday. Tonight, SmackDown and Hall of Fame starting at like 10 o'clock at night. That's crazy. All emanating from Vegas. So we bring in Adam Oos. What's up, Oos?
What's up, Oos?
Dude, this is like your favorite weekend of the year.
It's a good one. I also love SummerSlam. SummerSlam's a close second for me.
Okay.
Funny you bring up that Hall of Fame thing. It's going to be at midnight my time. It's so late. What are we doing here? Do it today, like at noon. Why do we have to wait until after SmackDown?
So Stand and Deliver, the NXT
is tomorrow
NXT's WrestleMania is like tomorrow morning. We'll mix in some Kings to this as well. We'll keep your Kings stuff going. Rhino, like to see Keegan as a featured weapon with a point guard and a scheme. Like to see what he can do. That's all I'm asking. Can we just see what he's going to do? Let's see. Keegan played great on defense. Rhino, which point guards should we go after? Progressive, I have not even looked at the free agents, to be honest with you. I know the type of point guard that I would go after, but I don't know who is available. And also with the Kings financial situation, you have a lot of roster spots to fill with not a ton of money. Like, they've got a lot to fill. So, good question. We'll talk about it more as the week goes, or I should say, as the offseason goes along, because we are going to be, even though we'll talk NBA finals, we'll talk playoffs, we'll talk NFL draft, anything going on in sports, we'll talk here. We will always have a Kings aspect to every show where we're breaking down a player for that year, grading them. We'll be going through the draft, making sure that we're getting you ready for that, whether the Kings are picking 42nd and 12th or just 42nd, or if they make a trade and get back into the draft. So we will still be doing this show. I'm thinking we're going to kick the time to 3 o'clock. I like this 3 o'clock time. We get bigger crowds. We get more calls. So probably going to go to 3 o'clock going forward for the King's Court. But we are here all year long. It does not stop. So that is my promise and pitch to all of you. Adam, dude, I got a bunch of wrestling sound drops for you today. Like I went crazy on the wrestling sound drops just for you.
Thinking ahead, you're a planner.
So, all right, let's see if we've got some wrestling questions in here quite yet. I saw something about WrestleMania.
Yeah, Flores was asking something.
Something about the top 3 WrestleManias. We'll figure
I'll
it out.
say this. I watched WrestleMania 15 last night just to get into it. And man, like I haven't watched that probably since it aired originally. And that was a lot of fun to rewatch something like that. And you see these things, like the first match was a triple threat with like Val Venus, Billy Gunn.
Hello, ladies.
And shit. I'm sorry. Shoot, I'm spacing, but man, it was a fun match. It was the WrestleMania where Pete Rose came out and attacked Kane in the chicken suit.
The chicken suit. Yeah.
Oh man, I forgot about that.
So Val Venus's entrance video
so
is
good.
the funniest thing ever. the drill bit. It's so good. I mean,
A lot to break down there.
It's a close second to this.
By the way, right now, Cena's lady parts trending worldwide.
That was a good line too. All right, Adam, the recent buzz around CM Punk and the rumored backstage tension. Do you think his presence is helping or hurting the locker room and creative morale?
You were the first to bring this to my attention. I haven't heard anything about that, but usually I kind of listen to more of the softball podcasts. For the most part, I listen to a little bit of everything, and I haven't heard anything about that. If it's true, then I would say that there's a pattern not with AEW or WWE. It's a pattern with Punk. But I have a hard time believing that kind of at this point, and how he came back to the WWE. I think he's grateful to be here, and the fans love him. So I think as a fellow wrestler, if I could put myself in that position, the more eyes he can bring to WWE would benefit me as another wrestler. But I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So
Punk is gonna punk. I think you
kind of know what you get when you buy that, right?
Yeah. And look, I think he's gonna rub some people the wrong way, but I actually have not heard a ton about backstage stuff with him. All right, Thumper, you are hearing, or we're hearing voices in my head. They counsel me, they understand. Because this is exactly what I think is going to happen in that match. I think it lines up that way. I think that they have played it up perfectly. If you look at the, facial expressions, you look at the little things with Rollins taking out both Punk and Reigns, and then not taking Heyman out for a second time. And Adam said last week he thinks Rollins needs that big push again, kind of a rebuild. I think 100% that's what happens. I think Punk's got his WrestleMania match. That's good enough. He's in the main event. Going over on Reigns puts Rollins back into the spotlight, putting Heyman with him, refreshes it. So that's the way I see it, Adam.
I mean, we can go over picks and stuff with some of the ancillary matches, but who do you think wins this one?
I just said Rollins.
You think Rollins can?
Rollins wins and Heyman's with him.
I think it's going to be CM Punk winning this match. I think Paul is still going to stay with Roman after that, because then you have some Paul Roman tension that you can build off moving forward with. I don't think Rollins is the one to take the pin, though. I think it will be Roman Reigns getting pinned by Punk. And I think Paul will still stay with Roman.
Okay, so
I know those rumors are heating up that Rollins goes with Paul Heyman, but and I think Rollins needs Paul Heyman the most out of anyone here, but I still think there's a little meat left on the bone with Heyman and Roman Reigns.
Okay. Match you are looking forward to the most?
Ooh. I mean, it's probably Cena Rhodes, but outside of that, probably Braun Breaker, Penta, Dom, and Finn.
Okay.
Maybe a LA Knight, Jacob Fatu. Oh no, I take it all back. El Grande Americano versus Rey Mysterio.
Okay. All right. I thought you were gonna stay with this guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple tasty ones there for me.
Sofa, And to everybody talking about Mason Jones, I love me some Mason Jones.
Go Stockton!
Dude's work ethic is incredible. He is a scorer in the G League. That's what he is. He is a scorer right now in the G League, does a lot of pick and roll. He, to me, is not he is great in the G League, but the scoring does not translate. Now, running the offense and the ball handling, maybe. But he is not a clear-cut guy to come up. In fact, we'll talk more about Stockton as the postseason or as the offseason continues. I think I've got my eyes on one other guy as much as I do on Mace possibly getting a shot at training camp. So,
was it IJ for you, the other guy?
No, IJ's already on the roster. It's Dexter Dennis. He's got the NBA body for the position he plays. It should be Terry Taylor. Terry Taylor is he's an undersized, he looks like a power forward, although he can play a little bit like a small forward, but he's like 6'5". Everything else is perfect, but he's 6'5", and he's not quick enough to be a 2 guard, and he's too small to be a 3, and he's just stuck in this weird area. My top 3 WrestleMania main event endings of all time. Cody last year, number 1. Taker, Shawn Michaels, number 2, even though it wasn't a main event. And that's the first Taker, Shawn Michaels. And number 3, Flair and Michaels. Adam? Uh-oh. Going for something. Ah, okay. You were a Hogan guy. Yeah, I left the Warrior Hogan one out too. Damn. Okay. Anything else compare to it?
I mean, last year was pretty good. The build to it was everything, right? You have it as your number 1. I think it was great. You got to break them down to build them up and get to this point. And I think we might see that again this year with Cody.
Like
in my heart of what's that?
Like a schmoz?
A schmoz?
Like all the run-ins again?
Do we have as many run-ins? Okay, I've got a little sheet here with me. Guest appearances. Let me know who you think is going to show up. Stone Cold.
Yes.
I agree. Undertaker.
Wait, hold on. Let's do this different. Yes isn't good enough.
You're right.
I should be better.
Not an appropriate response.
Not a appropriate response. All right, let's start that list over. Go ahead.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeet.
Undertaker.
Yeet.
You think Undertaker's going to show up?
Yeah, Michelle McCool's being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Brock Lesnar.
No yeet.
No yeet. No yeet there.
That's terrible.
But that is speculation that maybe he comes out during the triple threat of night 1 and Paul sides with him.
You can't bring him back. He's in a... You can't do it.
I'm with you. I'm just throwing stuff out there that
you
people
can't
are
do
saying.
it. You can't do it.
I'm with you.
If Dwayne brings him back, since he's the final boss, then Dwayne is going to have a major
He's
like
gonna have to answer a lot of questions.
There's gonna be a firestorm because of the lawsuit. There's just no way. Because TKO is still included in that lawsuit, so you can't do it.
They got so much heat from Grande Americano saying he was from the Gulf of America that they changed it to the Gulf of Mexico. I don't care what your opinion is on what we should name the Gulf, but I'm just saying, like, we're talking about a body of water that we're arguing the name of. So Brock Lesnar returning doesn't help that.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. I'm not even comfortable talking about him.
Yeah. Same. Trish Stratus.
No.
Yeet. Travis Scott.
Yeet.
Yeah, he'll be there. The Rock.
Yeet.
Yeah. If The Rock does not show up this weekend, what are we doing here? But that would be so Rock today for him to not show.
I actually have advanced footage of me watching WrestleMania when The Rock shows up.
If you smell what The Rock is cooking.
There we go.
Come on.
All right. There we go.
Man, I still love The Rock. I can't quit you.
No, dude. He needs to. If he gets involved in the main event, just
burn it down.
I don't want any part of it. I just don't want any part of it. Anyways, go ahead.
How about some questions outside the pick'ems of these matches? Jade Cargill and Naomi. Is Bianca going to show up?
Bianca's in a match, right? She's in the title match?
She's probably night 2, I think.
One of them is going to cost the other a match. It just depends on the night. I think Jade, I don't think Bianca shows up for Naomi. Because that makes Bianca even like a scummier heel that she's got the other one doing her bidding. But I do think Jade Cargill shows up and screws Bianca out of the title.
I'm wondering, like, I'm trying to think of how many heels, like true heels, we have in the women's division, maybe outside of Charlotte and Naomi at this point.
Chelsea Green.
Is she?
Ivy Nile.
I think Chelsea kind of fits like a Jacob Fatu, where like he's maybe not a good guy, but everybody loves him.
They've done a bad job. Isn't this funny, by the way? I see people mentioning Davion Mitchell. He very well may be in the playoffs. And we're hoping for him to be in the playoffs. Remember, the Kings need the Heat and the Mavs to win tonight. That will trigger a coin flip to see if the Kings are going to have their 12th pick. But anyways, I just think they've really done a bad job with Chelsea Green. With her title reign.
Yeah, it hasn't been great. You ran it back with Mi Chin, and I don't even know what other.
Is there a worse wrestling name, by the way? Mi Chin.
Yeah.
Tag team partner, Her Chin. Triples match. My Chin.
I do like what they're doing with Chelsea and the secret Hervis.
Yes.
I think that's been cool, but we're building this stuff around Chelsea without her actually wrestling a ton right now. So I think, to your point, yeah, and they did the same thing with who else? Nakamura. They did it with LA Knight. I don't think they've done a great job with Braun Breaker either, to be honest.
Same thing with Lyra Valkyria.
Lyra Valkyria, I think. Yeah, I think Lyra is so talented, and I love watching her wrestle. And I I think maybe they're trying to get there with Bailey to somehow put her over a little bit. And
they're trying to get like the whole woo over, and it's just not working.
It's not there yet, but I think it could be, right? Like she's got to have a moment. The problem is they never give her promo work. Like when's the last time you heard Lyra Valkyria on the mic? It doesn't happen, and that's what helps people get over. We need to buy into the story. And with Lyra Valkyria, it's like she's a great wrestler, but there's no story.
True. All right.
And she said I was OCD, one cool dude.
That's what Macho Man said about you, one cool dude. All right. Let's just do the main event. Cena, and we'll do the main event, and then
we can go through the list of it. We'll just do quick pick'ems after that.
Quick pick'ems, yeah. So cool. Cena and Cody, which way you going?
I think that Cena, in my heart, I think Cena wins. I've already spoken about where I'd like to see this probably go, but I also don't want to see Cody turn heel quite yet. So I think Cena wins, and maybe he does turn face at the very end of his run this year, but I'll take Cena.
It's closing out the show.
It would piss everyone off. They gave us everything that we wanted last year, and now it's time to strip it away again.
Okay, but you can't have Cody.
You can have Cody do anything.
I'm going to the double turn. I think Cody turns heel somehow. I think it's time for the double turn.
That's what I want. Is it too soon to cash in on that with Cody? And then, yeah, that's the problem for me. That's where I really struggle. Like, Cody is so hot, and WWE can milk him being the baby face of this thing for at least another good year.
You can't have the title off TV as much as you will with Cody or with Cena.
Yeah.
You can't have the title off TV. Like Cody works every single dark match, even if it's a SmackDown or a Raw, like I just think somehow Cody will still leave the championship, whether it's a face or a heel. That's
where I agree. And that's where I think you double cross Cena. Cena has a revelation. Oh my God. I was trying to do it the wrong way. I need to be the good guy again. And he reinforces the hustle, loyalty, respect to 10 times what he used to do. I will be going to, this, but I'll be in Fort Worth next Friday for SmackDown right after WrestleMania. So we're going to see Cena for sure. I didn't get to catch Cena at Raw when it was in Dallas here last time around. So I need
is that already here? Is that already here?
What?
Is that the one I'm supposed to come to?
Yeah, next Friday.
Yeah? Okay.
Are you coming?
Yeah, I think so. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
All right.
I thought it was a month out.
We'll figure out the logistics. But yeah, it's next week, next Friday. So yeah, I think you bring up a good point with Cena not being on television. And that's why I proposed the Money in the Bank briefcase for Cena, because if he's a good guy, now we're all cheering for him to take down Cody, who turned his back on the fans.
Yeah, Bobby's asking turn on who, basically align with The Rock. Like this whole thing was like a thing on, they were duping Cena in. I don't know. I like heel Cena though. All right, let's move on
Let's parlay that into the Gunther versus Jey Uso match.
Yeah, this one perplexes me because this is usually one of those matches that would be closing the show. And you have Jey Uso going over to the crowd. It's his WrestleMania moment. I am terrified that they're going to have Gunther win this match.
Oh my God, that is the dream. That's the dream for me.
You ruin Jey Uso if you do that.
Jey Uso shouldn't be in this match in the first place against Gunther. In the last 5 years, Gunther has won 86% of his matches, but that's the perfect setup to put Jey Uso over into being credible as a wrestler. So, in my heart of hearts, I love our ring general, Yellow. But I think Jey Uso does it so that we can transition that belt into someone that's more credible to beat Jey Uso than Gunther, right? Like, no one's beating Gunther. So, but people can beat Jey Uso. We've seen that.
I just don't know how you position it. And yes, this
The
one's
cream
better.
of the crop. Nobody does it better.
Look,
because Jimmy Bones comes out of the audience with his bandana and his hood, and he interferes with the match to help his brother win the title.
Okay, yeah, see, this is where this all terrifies me. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm going
I don't
on
love
record.
it.
Okay, I'm going on record and I'm saying it'll be Jay, but I will sit here on Monday and say, I told you so if Jay or Jimmy comes out and he ends up helping Gunther to screw Jay over at WrestleMania.
What?
And he loses. Yes.
Because
Yes.
he's jealous of his brother?
They'll do the Hardy thing, man. That's what they did with the Hardys, and it killed Jeff Hardy. Anyways, if they do that, I'm done. Anyways, Jimmy for me as well, or Jay for me.
Or is Jay the third piece of the Rock's plan, and now he has all the championship belts underneath the final boss?
No, you can't do that. You've got.
They're hinting at it. Jay came out with Travis Scott. When The Rock did this, he goes, "Two deuces. They've got the bloodline connection."
All right, we are so far off the beaten path right now. My mind is blown. Yeah, we kind of are. Like we're at the thrift store. We're listening to this chick.
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness.
We'll talk Monday. We'll talk Monday.
Yes, we will talk Monday. In fact, you know what? We will do a different. We'll do actually. I would like to do a different show that is just wrestling to recap WrestleMania. But do you want to wait until after Raw WrestleMania?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So we will do an entire show next week separate.
I won't be able to do it until Thursday at the soonest, probably. At least at this time slot.
Well, we can do it at any different time slot. It won't be at this time slot. The King's Court will be at this time slot.
Yeah. If we do noon on Monday, I can work that.
Let me tell you a secret. We can pre-tape.
Oh my God. And then release it at a certain time.
Yeah, there you go. So we'll make it work.
All right. Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano. Who you got?
El Grande Americano.
And does someone get unmasked?
No.
I'm with you with El Grande. I do think he unmasked Rey Mysterio, and it's a moot point because Rey Mysterio has already been unmasked 20 years ago. And I think it's part of the comedic element of not Chad Gable. Jade Cargill versus Naomi.
Jade.
Yeah, I'm taking Jade. LA Knight versus Fatu, the Sacramento boy, Jacob Fatu.
Fatu.
I'm going to go with LA Knight here.
Really? All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah. War Raiders versus the New Day.
War Raiders, Big E gets involved.
Why does Big E get involved?
Because of what happened before.
And what did New Day do to the War Raiders?
I don't know.
Well, they were targeting their neck.
Ah, okay.
Okay. This one's got heat. Tiffy versus Charlotte.
Tiffy.
Yeah, I'm going Tiffy too. There's no way they let Charlotte win this.
You got to build another star. Charlotte's on her way down. She's not even, especially this last run, you can tell like Charlotte is not Charlotte of old. Like she's not full-time Charlotte. So you got to do Tiffy.
And she's on the hunt too. She's looking for number 4, the next ex-husband. Does Ric Flair show up?
Oh boy. No, because he's under contract with AEW.
Or is he?
It's Tiffy time.
Are there stipulations in his contract that he could appear somehow?
No.
Because he's behind the scenes,
Nope.
AEW.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm
Those
with
companies
you too.
do not.
He is in Vegas this weekend.
That's fine that he's in Vegas, but he ain't
It's
going to be
Tiffy
a part
time.
of that match.
I agree.
And I bet you Charlotte would not want him to be a part of that match.
Yeah. I might disagree with you on that part. Gunther versus Jey Uso. We hit that. Look, I think with Gunther, if you let him win, man, you get some real heat on him. But to your point,
ruin Jey Uso.
I don't know if you ruined Jey Uso though.
Telling you, bro, if it was at any other pay-per-view, you don't ruin Jey Uso. This, after winning the Royal Rumble, you ruin Jey Uso.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think
this?
Jey probably wins.
I haven't watched wrestling in years, but I remember watching WrestleMania 3 as a child, and it's still probably the most excited I have ever been for anything in my life.
There you go, buddy.
Would Flair really get a big pop?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think he would.
Although, if you play Fortnite, Cody Rhodes and Undertaker skins just dropped today, along with a Ric Flair woo emote. So to your point that he's under contract with AEW, they're still pushing him in WWE in video games.
I don't care. I just don't need. Just make sure he wears a bro if he shows up. Okay, that's all I'm worried about.
Finishing match of night 1: CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Rollins. We talked about this.
Yeah.
I think Punk gets the pin on Roman.
Rollins pins Roman and leaves with Heyman.
Okay. AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. I was accused of being a Logan Paul mark this week.
Logan
in the
Paul.
Chat
Logan
by
Paul.
some troll.
Yeah, I saw that. Logan Paul, although this whole carrying cross looking like Logan Paul thing is getting kind of weird.
Dude, I love carrying cross. That guy is on to something.
Yeah, the worst thing he ever did was shaved his head. He should have shaved his head.
He's great. The best thing he ever did was marry Scarlett.
Oh, that's a good point by Bobby Hill. Well done by you, Bobby.
Yeah, that's cool. Ric Flair was on Busted Open, I think this past week, saying that he would love to see Cena beat his record. And I think you know, is wrestling evolved? Yeah, it's BS, right?
That
Like
dude
no one
has
ever.
to say that.
I know.
Him in particular.
Yeah, I get it, right? Like he's saving face, but I think as we move forward, when I was a kid, it was like Ric Flair and Hogan and maybe Savage, whatever. But we need that next torchbearer for the young generation that's like, dude, who, as a basketball fan, who do you think was the greatest basketball player of all time?
Oh, I don't know. You're asking me at
You don't
5:21
know?
on a Friday?
Come on. Just from what you saw as a kid growing up,
Well,
who is the
MJ,
best
obviously.
Exactly. Who is this generation now calling the greatest of all time?
LeBron.
Exactly. So Ric Flair is to Michael Jordan as John Cena is to LeBron James.
You're forgetting
And you
about
need,
Cody.
yeah, but Cody will be the next
Kobe.
one after Kobe. Kobe is not.
Okay.
Okay, I think Kobe is better than LeBron James. That's besides the point. You know. Anyway.
All right, 2 minutes. We got to wrap this thing up.
Got you. Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre.
The eye patch was so stupid, by the way.
I wish they would have kept it longer.
Probably Damian Priest.
I'm going to go with Drew.
Okay.
Braun Breaker, Penta, Dom, Finn.
Dom.
I'm going to go with Dom too. I think this is the only way that he could win a belt legitimately off of Braun Breaker. And he's not going to get the pin on him. He'll probably get the pin on Finn, I think, and then Finn's out of Judgment Day. Liv and Raquel versus Bayley and Lyra Valkyria.
Liv and Raquel.
I'm gonna switch it up. I'll go Bayley and Lyra. Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair.
Io Sky.
I'm with you. Io Sky retains because they've been pushing her to the side this whole time, and she's gonna whoop their
It's
ass.
the same booking as WrestleMania 24 when it was Cena, Triple H, and Orton. And Orton, even though he was the champion, he was being just completely like it was a foregone conclusion that he was not winning. He was just basically the guy bringing the belt to the match. So, yeah. So, what did you think, by the way? Let's end on this. Like, because you're from Dallas. Okay. Is this
I'm not from here? I've been here a couple of years.
Okay. You live in Dallas.
Yeah.
Is this the most bewildering Jerry Jones quote of all time?
Everybody involved. For me, it's a reminder. I too have been here 23 years. And it is a reminder. I've been here when it was
Keep
glory
it clean,
hole days,
Adam.
and I've been here when it wasn't. And so having said that, I want me some glory hole.
Do you hear the media cracking up in the background?
Hey, man, if you've ever been to Texas, hopefully you've been to a Buc-ee's, and there's a lot of bathroom stalls, so I'm sure Jerry's familiar.
Oh my goodness. All right, dude. I appreciate you. You and I will be talking throughout WrestleMania weekend.
Yes,
Love
sir.
it. Good stuff. Good work.
See you on Friday.
Yes, I'll see you on Friday. Forgot about that. I thought it was next month. All right,
baby.
We'll figure it out. All right, dude.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Later, bro.
Adam Oos. Oh, wrapping up the show. Appreciate all you guys talking Kings and wrestling at the same time in the chat. It has been a full week. Grant is back tonight, 8 o'clock. Make sure you join him. Hopefully he does not bring me back on camera. If I am there and on screen, it's not supposed to happen. I'm getting the chat in the link for him, but he had a great show last night. Great calls. Join him again, 8 o'clock tonight. By the way, best thing I heard this week. Gonna play it one more time for you.
We won the game, but we made history.
That's the biggest thing, man. That's the biggest thing. They call me Mike Dicker. Hey, hold on. Let me get y'all a reason. Hey, they call me Mike Dicker. Yes, sir. Because I push them hard every day. And some days they'll fight me back. Some days they'll be like, why you on me so hard? Because times like this. And now, I was on IC ass all year. He come through the last 2 games. I was on TT ass all year. He came through all year. I was on Dex ass all year. That nigga came through all year. And what are we on? We champs. Let's go home.
Yeah. Let's champ. Or we're champs. Let's go home. Go support Stockton. Championship celebration tomorrow. Adventist Health Arena. Free to the general public. 1 to 3 p.m. Free parking as well. No ticket necessary. Go show them some love. Thanks for showing us some love on this show this week. Appreciate you so much. A lot of intense Kings talk for about 4/5 of it. And then we got to the wrestling. So I appreciate the passion. That's what I love about this community that comes together, because it's educated passion. It's not just garbage stuff. Love you all for it. Have a great, safe weekend. Join Grant, 8 p.m. Enjoy WrestleMania. If you partake, go enjoy the celebration with Stockton. We will be back Monday, 3 p.m. King's Court. Court is dismissed.
Go Stockton!